we should say is, and that, of course, was Dickie Bird, you know, in tribute to your dad. First thing we should say is, I think for everyone, it's a family loss.
It is.
First and foremost,
it is.
It's a family loss.
It is.
So how is everyone? How are you doing? How's your mum doing?
Well, I think my mum and myself, I can't really speak for my brothers, though I know I'd probably feel the same way, it's still a sense of shock. You still end up talking about him in the present tense. You find yourself not wanting to say he's not here anymore. And the other day, he was encyclopedic about music. And there was a piece of music on the radio, and I thought, well, who wrote that? Because it's a very famous tune. And I thought, I must ask my father. And of course, then I realised I couldn't ask my father. He'd be disappointed that I didn't know who wrote that song. But, you know, just those small things that bring you up short, realise he's still not here.
But you know what? Anyone who's suffered loss, they'll know exactly what you're talking about when you describe it like that. It's a funny thing, isn't it? It's like you're sharing your loss with everyone else. Yeah. So many people felt like a sense of loss, not like yours, very different way. What was it like, you know, feeling like your dad's death is all part of our lives in a strange way?
I suppose we kind of expected it. We didn't expect the kind of outpouring. We didn't expect what happened. I mean, not just here, but in Australia. I mean, in Australia, there was a golf course he used to be a member of, and they put the flag at half-mast. The remarkable kind of gestures like that. And I have said previously that it's a very difficult situation to be in as a family, because you do actually feel that you should step back for a while and just let the public mourn the man that they lost, in a sense that you don't want to almost step on their toes, because they had a particular relationship with him, you know, either through television, radio, through print. And in a sense, they're mourning a different person. And so we have to, in a sense, you know, keep out what we're mourning and keep it separate and allow that to subside before we're really able to, as a family, come together and remember him as a dad and as a husband of 64 years.
How much chat with your dad was there about his job at home?
Well, I obviously used to work for him about 20 years, so I was in a very privileged ringside seat to witness the man in operation. And it was incredible to sit with him, because the one thing about him was he never stopped seeking perfection. He never stopped questioning what he was doing, whether it was right, whether it was correct. And he was demanding of anyone who worked with him. He surrounded himself with people who were talented, people who were gifted. And in the end, that was what was most fascinating for me, to work with him. And we would talk often about interviews. I mean, we would talk about things possibly I can't tell you about, certain interviewees that he wouldn't ever want to meet again. But there were other things as well about his approach to stuff and working with him. It was a fascinating ringside seat. It also, in many ways, had an effect that I had a relationship with a father which often men of my generation didn't have, because a lot of those fathers went out to work. I kind of followed my father out to work, and through that I had this very intimate relationship with him.
When you remember your dad as a granddad, you know, your dad, forget the work relationship. Sure. You know, when you're in a family, you have a place in the house.
Yes.
Now, he's obviously revered. He's been revered in this country, right? Yes. Did you bring him down a peg or two at home? Like, what was his kind of position around the table, or, you know, when you're all sitting down after Sunday lunch, something?
The only person there's two people who used to bring him down a peg or two. One was my mum, who would often remind him of his position, basically as what he should really remind him, but also his father. His father, John William Parkinson, was a very no-nonsense Yorkshireman, and he would tell him in no uncertain terms, he got above himself, basically, that in his own eyes he had failed because he'd not played for Yorkshire.
That's it. He hadn't.
So he would always remind him of that.
Yeah.
And if he ever came to us and started going on about, you know, why do you want a new cricket bat, or what's wrong with those football boots, his father would say, every single season I bought you a new cricket bat, buy him one. So he was a fantastic ally, his father. He was amazing.
Do you know, I'm looking around here, and we were just discussing as you walked in, all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a curious thing for any of the rest of us. You know, it's your dad, and here